We are learning, thank you. We are learning Mishnayos Chagiga, Perek Beis, chapter 2, Mishnah Vav, Mishnah 6. Okay, so yesterday we spoke about the 5 levels of holiness and all the different and the ramifications of that when it comes to if you have stam yadam, you have unwashed hands, what you need to do before you either eat or handle them regarding how you wash your hands. Now, this Mishnah is talking about another scenario where you have this difference between the levels, and it's talking about a person who went to the mikveh. Person was impure, and he went to the mikveh. And when he went to the mikveh, he, number one, as we're going to see, he didn't just fall into the mikveh. He went to the mikveh to purify himself, right? And based on, and he had an intent for what he was purifying himself for. And that's going to make a difference as to what he will now be allowed to eat and what he will still not be allowed to eat. So the Mishnah says, "Hatayva lechulin v'huchzak lechulin." Somebody who immerses for eating non-consecrated food, ordinary food, v'huchzak lechulin, and he purified himself with that intent for ordinary food, aser lemaiser. It is forbidden for him to eat meiser sheni. Now, meiser sheni, you may not eat if you're tamei. Chulin, which means ordinary food, if you're tamei, you're allowed to eat it. There's nothing in the Torah that says that if you're tamei, you can't eat regular, ordinary food. Mm-hmm. However, we do find a practice mentioned in the Mishnayos and the Gemara, which was the practice of Torah scholars in the times of the Mishnayos, that there were people who only ate, if they were going to eat, they had to be in a purified state. Before they ate, they made sure in a purified state. I don't know exactly what it mean everything, certain things, but we're talking about chulin food, we're talking about ordinary food, and these people always made sure what they ate was done in a state of purity. The food was pure, they were pure. So here you have a situation where the person has now, this person has now gone to the mikveh. But when he went to the mikveh, his intention was, I'm purifying myself for the purposes of eating chulin, ordinary food. Says the Mishnah, a rabbinic decree, you cannot eat meiser sheni. Because since you only purified yourself with the intent of chulin, you cannot partake yet of the higher sanctified food, which is meiser sheni. Okay, next, now we're going to just go through the different stages, different levels. Tava l'meiser, v'huchzak l'meiser. He went into the mikveh for meiser, and that was his intent to purify himself for meiser. Asur l'truma. All right, you could eat meiser sheni, but you can't eat the next thing, which is the higher level, which is truma, the food that the grain that we separate for a kohen. Tava l'truma v'huchzak l'truma. He immersed for eating truma, and his intent was to make himself tar for truma. Asur l'kodesh. All right, he's good to go for truma. Not only that, okay, he's good to go for truma, but he will not be able to eat kodesh, sacrifice made of a sacrifice. These are all rabbinic decrees. These are all rabbinic laws initiated in regarding to all the different levels, or making sure that we treat each level in the way it should be treated. Tava l'kodesh, v'uchzak l'kodesh. Let's say he went to the mikveh with the intention to make himself pure for eating from kodesh, from sanctified meat, from carbon meat. Asur l'chatas. He still may not go ahead and handle the paraduma water. It's even more. Now, it's important to point out here the following, okay? I'm going to read here from the notes. The requirement to immerse with the intent for truma applies only for eating it. Special intent is not required ever to touch or handle truma. So if you went to the mikvah for chulin, can you touch truma, handle truma? Yes, but you can't eat truma. Similarly, the to immerse with intent for kodesh applies only for eating it and not for touching it. You want to touch it. You make sure that you went to the mikveh. But the sages did require immersion with specific intent for handling chatas water, which again we consider it on the highest level. Mm-hmm. So when we talk about you need intent for that level to be able to be permitted in that level. So that it for all the other levels other than the paraduma, you need that for eating, not for touching. For the mechatas, for the aduma water, you need it even paraduma water. You need it even for touching. Now, next thing the Mishnah mentions is taval lechamer mutter lakal. Let's say you went to the mikvah with in mind to purify yourself for the higher level. Mutter lakal, you're going to be permitted in the lower level. You went to the mikvah for truma. No problem with chulin. I mean, never a problem with chulin. But even if you're strict with chulin, no problem. You went ahead and you went for. You went for truma. You can eat ma'aser sheni. When you go for the higher one, you can go to the lower one. Tava v'lo huchzak. Now, let's say you immerse in the mikvah, but not to make yourself tar. You needed a bath, so you needed to cool off. Needed to cool yourself off. So you went to the mikvah to cool off. You didn't go to purify yourself, but you completely went into the mikvah, kosher mikvah, but not for the purposes of purifying yourself. Tava v'lo huchzak, immersing yourself without the intention of making yourself pure, kilo lo tava. It's as if you didn't go to the mikvah, meaning you have to have some kind of intent. At the same time, as is pointed out, that is not true though for chulin. When it comes to chulin, we say here, for eating chulin, since no particular intention is required in immersing for chulin, that you could eat chulin. At the end of the day, if your tevilah didn't count as a tevilah, it doesn't hold you back from eating chulin, because chulin doesn't really need a tevilah, right? Ma'aser sheni, you got to be pure. Truma, you got to be pure. Sacrifice meat, you got to be pure. For chulin, you don't have to be pure. Mm-hmm. So therefore, if at the end it comes out that you actually immerse yourself in the mikvah without the intention for purifying yourself. You went in there to bathe. You fell in, whatever it may be.
A body of water, like a lake or.
If it's a kosher mikvah.
Yeah.
If it's a kosher mikvah, and again, there was no chatzitza, there was nothing separating you and the water. The halacha would be that for chulin, it would be effective. That means for the people who make sure to eat their chulin in a state of purity, even if they as long as they went to the mikveh, they're good to go. To say that you need some kind of intent to be able for the tevilah to count, that's talking about the other levels.
What does it mean, intent?
You have in mind that this is why you're doing it. I am doing it for the purposes of purifying myself to eat truma or to eat carbon meat.
You have to eat. You have to make a barucha.
That has nothing to do with this. This is talking about when you're being toivel in the mikveh. When you're being toivel in the mikveh, that is your intent.
Without a bracha.
It could be with the bracha. It's not relevant.
You say that a bracha levatolo if you're not.
You're
just making a bracha.
When you go to the mikveh to eat truma, again, first of all, I don't know if you make a bracha when you go to the mikveh to eat truma. I don't know if you make a bracha for that. That's number one. And again, the issue here is, what is your intent? And if you, and clearly, and some of these things, I don't believe, again, there's no bracha. I don't believe that when a woman goes to the mikveh, she makes a bracha.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know, I don't think that if a person is tummy and wants to eat truma, that he makes a bracha on the tefillah. I don't know. I could be wrong. I don't know. Mm-hmm. If you're making a bracha, then clearly you're having the intent.
That's intent.
But the intent, but it might not be the intent though for the specific level. It may not be the intent for the specific level. You need intent for the specific level to be able to eat that specific level. If I had intention to go to the mikveh, but again, my intent was for ma'aser sheni, I still can't eat truma. Mm-hmm. That's the point of the Mishnah. Okay, let's move on. Okay. Now, we are okay. Halacha Gimel. Ure'ei oid as gaidel iser lashon hara. I'll show you again another point about the severity of the prohibition of lashon hara. Shafilu eina medaber mitay chasina. He's not speaking out of anger, meaning he's not trying to get the guy. And he had no intent to put the person down. He said it as a joke, lightheaded. He just mentioned it. Again, no intent to actually put the person down, but again, it was very very light. Nonetheless, since the truth is that these are derogatory statement, it is self forbidden to say it. Have a wonderful day and a wonderful Shabbos.
Thank you, Rabbi.